So, okay, it is 11:30. So welcome to our Monday webinar featuring one of our vendor partners, AWE Learning. I'm Sarah Gold, one of the librarians at Wills, and I'm so pleased to introduce Brad Gray, Senior Account Executive at AWE Learning. With over 30 years of experience collaborating with educators, librarians, and students, I'm so happy to be able to work with Brad once again as he introduces the early literacy stations that are so popular with our public library members to our school media specialists. So Brad is going to talk about how public libraries and school media centers are shaping young lives and fostering confidence through impactful early literacy programs with early literacy stations as a part of those programs. This webinar is being recorded and it will be shared out to our members on the co-op listserv, and there will be time for questions following Brad's presentation. Welcome, Brad. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey everybody, and thanks, Sarah. Glad to be back with Wisconsin Libraries, working with them in a new way with early literacy, which couldn't be more important these days. So I'm glad to be and honored to be part of the program itself. Should be able to see on my screen the presentation I'm going to go over, and I will make this available to Sarah to share as well. Or you can contact me directly if you're watching on playback. I plan to cover just some overview of the material, and then we will get to our questions. So I'm Brad Gray. I work with AWE Learning. I've worked, as Sarah said, in the ed tech and education sector for my entire career from all different stripes. So it's interesting to hear all the different ways people engage with literacy and what's important to them, regardless of their age. And now, today, we're talking about the youngest learners that need a little help from us to get the best chances to succeed. But so today we're going to cover just a couple things. We're going to talk about why early literacy is important and why is it important now. We're also going to talk about STREAM education and how Wisconsin is faring in that results. And then we're going to talk about some of the information that's super interesting about children's materials and programming and that juggle between print materials, digital materials, limited budgets, etc. And then we'll talk about AWE Learning briefly to get going. Let's start off with some of the basic facts about that I know of Wisconsin libraries. This is specifically for Wills member libraries. Approximately 35% of your overall circulation is children's materials. That's been reported across the IMLS reporting over time. And that's really interesting. That's really compelling that it's that number of the materials. Majority of them are print. And then some of the things related to your digital offerings as well. However, if you look at when a library is sponsoring something within the library, the numbers are dramatic. 70% of the reported attendance of programming within a library or a library sponsored is children attendance. So it proves that the library's value is greater than the sum of just what circulates outside the library. An interesting thing that's really important to me, and what's really interesting about AWE Learning to me as well, is that when a child attends the conference or attends a programming or story hour or whatever is being reported for attendance, they're actually consuming the information and learning and absorbing it. When they check out a material, we hope that they're checking that material out and using it, but we never really know. When a book is checked out, how much is read, how much is retained. With a program, you pretty much assure that they're there because you see them and they're enjoying it and participating as the place may be. So 70%, that's a big number. So why is literacy important? Particularly early literacy is important. The fact is that Wisconsin fourth graders, which is a milestone year or when students are tested for stream-based education pillars. Uh, it's interesting to see, and then the importance of the early literacy programs to help them prepare and then also get up to age level or even beyond age level for the particular material. And in this situation, 65% of Wisconsin fourth graders are falling short of what is the national standard for proficiency in reading and math, two of the primary pillars of stream education. So 35% are proficient by the standards that were taken. I had this up at WLA as well, if you were there, and it also shows a compelling thing that there are a number of fourth graders that don't even have the basic level of their reading level. And so there is a lot of programming in schools and in the community, including public libraries, that help with that, help them bring them up to level for the various areas so they have that best chance to succeed. And you can see here at the bottom that the national average is about the same as in Wisconsin. And like I live in Minnesota, and so Minnesota and Wisconsin are known nationwide as education states. And so some of the areas in the country are really suffering. And so the need for these kinds of materials are compounded when you go outside of our Midwestern area. Here's a quick view of what it's like in Wisconsin related to the studies that I just showed you. This is straight off of the national report card. And so you can see the difference between proficient and basic in reading and in math. These are the last time these were tested. And the other stream educations was 2015. So I didn't include those, but that was also pre-COVID. So it's interesting to look at what we can do post-COVID to help the kids get back to speed and go forward. This is more information you can read. It's too small to see on the screen if you wanted to look at this at a later time. This just gives you some more metadata about those results. Nationwide, you can see it's a wide gambit of what's successful and not. And again, this is something you can look at a later time. So now I'm going to talk about for a few minutes the relationship of all of this to what we do in libraries and in media centers. What typically happens is that the children's budgets are not as fully supported by the circulation value as adult or just general circulation materials, which is a tough thing. It's been this way forever. So I don't think it's something that's changed. It's just it's an unfortunate thing of the history has been nationwide, and Wisconsin's no exception, that the youth budgets for physical and digital materials don't balance to the same amount of how much a particular use is. There's also some hidden costs with youth materials that are not represented very well when you're doing reporting and statistical analysis, and that is the cost to the collection development of those materials, bringing them in, cleaning them when they come back, inventory to make sure they all come back, setting up to replace, and they also are massive interlibrary loan issues for when it comes to the print material. When I came from the audiobook world, that was a huge challenge, is order to invest in the audiobook collection for the kids, but then have those particular items circulating in all the various systems that are eligible within your system or your county system for interlibrary loan. It's no different for the print. When you look at the digital side of things, it's a little different. The digital side is that there's very little setup. You know this, you have circulating books and video and magazines and all that throughout the state. And there's not a big problem there. But when you think about it though, the cost of those things can continue. Whereas when it comes to early literacy, you need to be wise with the material and the investment that there is, and that's the challenge. How do you take the limited amount of resources, apply it to something that's going to have meaningful, sustained value to those kids as they grow through their educational life? that also is an attractant to the library itself to show the value that they're there to help the community and wherever they are in their literacy pursuit. So this is just an example of the average cost of a child's book, and it's thinking you have 2 or 3 of each in each library, and it without taking into account any of the costs of the business to get it done. So it's just an information to show. You can see within the digital space, particularly, I just have an example of AWE Learning. We'll talk about what we do specifically in a moment, but it's a one-time purchase. So you're investing in it, and then you own the preloaded material and the equipment to run it on. So it has a lot of a benefit beyond just the purchase that you have it. And you also have it in a way that it's not going to get like ruined or stolen or lost or damaged or all the different things that add cost to ongoing children's materials purchases over time. So something that's very common when I'm talking to folks on calls or at shows or just in dialogue is the funding of it. The simple fact that the libraries are funded in the way that they're funded for children's materials, it seems like there's an overweighing requirement to find alternative funding sources. So I've provided here a number of different sources that are specific to Wisconsin. And one of the more interesting ones that just popped up that if another state brought to my attention, but it's based in Wisconsin, is that Harley Davidson has a foundation that focuses on early literacy. And so the simple fact that manufacturers like Harley Davidson and a number of the beer manufacturers in Wisconsin do as well, they're just creative ways to find resources that individual foundations want to support early foundation, literacy, tech equity, impacting their local community, etc. So I have a number of things on here for you as well. The most common one, obviously, is the Friends Group and dedicated gifts. You know, the bequests that people leave and in their estate for different projects within the library, and then obviously the Friends Groups as well. Okay. Now let's talk about AWE Learning as an example. So everything that I've talked about up to date is the basis of and the sustaining value of what AWE Learning does, what our goals are, what we aspire to do in a vision, what we try to do in everything that we do related to the people that are employed at the organization, as well as what we offer as far as our content material. It's all about helping engage the learner and have them feel authentic in and confident in what they're doing. And in the case of AWE Learning, we've been at it for 2004. We've been a digital company the entire run. So we understand the growing pains of what it was like to have digital and materials in libraries, as well as providing some of the smoothing out of the issues that happen when it comes to implementing digital resources, particularly for the youngest learner. The biggest thing is access and how to you present the material to that youngest learner so they can engage, they can explore on their own without barriers that are typical in a digital space. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But we've been at it for a long period of time. We've had a lot of different partners that help build out. We have over 20,000 workstations in libraries across the country. Interesting fact is that 117 individual libraries in Wisconsin that are WILS library members have or have had our workstations to help them with early literacy. We're in about half of the US libraries, so it's a nice balance based on the experience that Wisconsin has with the nation. And what's really interesting to me is that Wisconsin, and disproportionately good than other places, is that you've adopted the material that we have available that supports the kids once they're in school. So there's early literacy, and then there's things for helping them with STEAM education once they get to school. So it's school readiness as well as school confidence. It's a great support mechanism. So that's why we're talking about this, to get it more current with as many people as possible, because it's just a foundational need within the library. We have libraries around the country that just rave about it. They're repeat purchasers of the system. They're small, medium, large, and really big systems have our program. They're just fundamental across the diversity of the type of library, the service population, and the way that they're used. So it's just a great place to be. And if you're looking for a stable partner like ourselves, we're definitely part of that early literacy conversation. Our workstations are organized for your success for the kids, turnkey opportunities for you in the library, and understanding the realities of the technical aspects of offering digital services and the budget it costs to invest in them. So we're proud to be a longtime cooperative partner with Wills. So you might know that when you purchase one of our workstations, not regardless of all the different incentives or places you buy, you, on top of whatever it is, you also get a Wills credit. So it supports you, it supports Wills, and it really shows that we're committed to helping where we can with that foundational service for early literacy. Everything that we do comes preloaded, which is a huge benefit to those that buy our product. The collection management and trying to figure out what to get to build a robust and complete stream program in your library is very time consuming. It also can be pretty expensive because of the learning materials, the books, the interactive, the video, the ebooks, the audio. All of that is built in a plug and play environment with a workstation. And then the bundles that are organized are around the age level and the demographic of your community of young learners to know what they want to do. Those of you that are watching this that have one of our workstations that you've had for a lot of years know that originally you had to have your bundles on individual workstations. Now, since like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you can bundle together multiple age group content bundles on one machine and expand that. It's fantastic. And so it allows you to have that, again, stretch the budget out to be able to have 2 to 12-year-old material on one workstation. If you have a separate children's room or a tween room, you could have just that older content with that machine, with those machines, but then offer the full suite for that young learner room. There's no internet required. You can add the internet, highly recommend it, for your administrative side to do settings and other types of things related to your reporting of time and sessions spent on a particular machine during a period of time. It also is insured. So when you buy it, you or have the confidence that you have a 3-year warranty right up front to warranties the machine, keyboard, mouse, because little hands aren't always as gentle as other ways that adults or older kids might be able to use materials or be respectful. So you have that covered. Also, there's no login. You unbox it, you plug it in, it's available. It's touch screen. So the multi-sensory way that people use the material is available for them to use it as a touch screen, as using their keyboard or a mouse. And it's all built in to the computer monitor. So it's a very easy way to do it. And we also have some additional material that reinforces it, lets this big, like a plate, if you will, that you can use as a background or a stand to make it more sturdy for you if you wanted to do that, if you didn't have another way to lock it down. We also have very, very high quality headsets available for you to have. So the materials has a lot of music and a lot of like keyboards you can play on the piano or learn to play the guitar or various things you can have read along, interactive ebooks, all those kinds of things. Could be a little irritating to some people that aren't using the material if the kid doesn't have the headphones. And the headphones can be wireless, so you don't have to have it connected. We also have an option that's new. So what I've been talking about so far are workstations that are in your library to help you with early literacy in the library. They also are available on a tablet. So you again, plug and play, done. Turn it on, it's used. If you wanted to be able to then offer this on public computers that you might have, well, let's say you have a public computer in the tween room, you could subscribe to our online module and you could use access codes that you would create and use it that way in a computer browser, laptop browser. Similar to how you check out material or something like that, and you give them the code that's good for 30 days. And then you could give that material to them as well. So that's a different option for you outside of the purchasing of the workstation or the tablet itself. So I had promised that I was going to cover this in about 20 minutes, and so there's some questions that are in there. So I'm going to open this up to questions. You can either type the questions into the chat, or you can just say them out loud if you wanted to be recorded. Otherwise, I know several things that are typically asked that I can bring up as well. One of the most common questions that comes up is when an individual uses the machines, playing the piano, is what happens when they leave? What happens when they leave is if you have the setting for a session time to time out, it'll time out and just go back to the main dashboard where all the options are available. Or they can click exit as they leave. Or if you're walking by, you can hit the click and it's gone like that. One to note is, as I mentioned earlier, there's no usernames. There's no user ID. So it's free play. It's free that they just go around and look at everything is available to them and go from there. Advantage is that it encourages that free play, the exploration. But it also is interesting is that it is not intended as a curriculum item because you're not tracking progress for one child over another. So that's one question that comes up. Another question that comes up quite regularly, and I see we're getting close to time here, so this will be my last question here that I'll point out, is that there is abilities for you in the admin section to set up a thematic-based set of material or software titles that are in the greater total amount. So if you're having a particular theme for a week, think your summer reading program, or winter reads, or a particular thematic thing. You can set up, like in the schools, they call them personal education plans. But you could do it as a thematic thing and call it, March Adventure Month and have it be all about adventure and maps and things like that. It's totally up to you. there really isn't a limit to that. So in the end, AWE learning is 100% about early literacy. Wisconsin education is all about early literacy. We have great strides in certain areas, but you can see that just the pure stress and the variety of impact these kids have in school and getting ready for school, some need additional help. So that's where we come in. And so that's what I ask you to do is to look at your early literacy programming and see where it can be done. Hopefully, we can earn your business and we can talk about further how this could work with your existing programming and help you down the line. My information is on here as well as in the follow-up materials. I'll have information about my ways to get in touch with me at AWE Learning. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah.
Thanks so much, Brad. This was great information. And I just wanted to let you know that I put a link to the Will's website listing for AWE Learning in the chat. That does also take you to the 4 featured products that we have. And in this case, as Brad mentioned, you'll want to reach out to him directly for the purchase or questions, anything like that. Then as a Will's member, you do receive discounts on the materials. So
Yep,
um,
that is true.
so thank you so much, Brad, for sharing with us today. And as I mentioned, we will go ahead and clean up the recording and share it out on the listserv.
Thank you.